Hello everybody, this is Oliver from New, and today we are going to talk about stem tea, cold brew stem tea versus hot brew stem tea. But we're not going to take any stem tea, we want to take high grades today. We want to dive into the taste of a Karigane. Karigane, as some of you might know, is Gyokuro Kabuse Sencha or longer shaded sencha stem tea, so a stem tea which comes from a high grade tea. Today what we have here is actually a Gyokuro Karigane, so it's a Gyokuro Karigane from Mr. Sakamoto, and I brought it once as a cold brew and once as a hot brew, or I will do it as a hot brew. So here in this case of the hot brew I take 5 grams for my black clay Kyushu, and I did the same, so 5 grams I prepared during 3 hours. I had it in the fridge so these leaves could really evolve nicely. So now it is the question, how is the taste actually evolving from cold brew green tea to hot brew green tea, and what is actually the taste difference? So let's dive directly into it, and for this I will start with the hot brewing. I take the 5 grams which I prepared already, I put it in my Kyushu, and I just gonna add some water to it. So around 150 milliliters of water. Tonight I heated up the water to 65 degrees Celsius. These are around 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Good. So we're gonna leave this in for around 1.5 minutes, because the Gyokuro is often a tea which is quite good rolled, so we really want to give the leaves the time to unroll, to really open up and give a nice flavor to the tea water. Now next is definitely my 2 bottom glasses, which will be the judges of tonight, and I will make them in the same way. So we'll try to use the exact same amount of water, but in a cold brew. As you can see, when the tea is nicely done, you have a really similar color, and if there's a little bit of sediment, what I suggest you is to just slightly shake, not shake, but kind of swirl the bottle to give the tea really the same amount of taste on all the different levels. And what you will see, by just swirling it a little bit, the tea leaves start to turn in the bottle, and then you just let it sink to the floor again. And now, after having done this, we're already through with the 1.5 minutes. So we're gonna take the tea and pour the hot tea into the glass. So try to get out all of the water, and we're gonna pour out the same amount of cold brew. Voila, good. So when we compare these two different teas, what we already can see is really that the cold brew has somehow kind of a milky texture. It's brighter, it's kind of going more into the slight green, even slightly golden, but very bright golden, nearly silver color. Meanwhile, the hot brew is really showing more the greener side and more kind of this darker golden side of the tea. So it seems that we have much more of kind of the theanine part without the strong amount of the catechins, and also I believe of chlorophyll, which is not too much kind of giving color to the water with the cold brew. Meanwhile, when we look at the hot brew, there's much more of kind of this intensity of the green in the tea water. So here absolutely expecting somehow of a green, of a kind of a more grassy vegetal flavor, Meanwhile, I expect from the cold brew a very sweet and smooth taste experience. But now I want to see what exactly the difference is. For this, I start how I did the tea the most until now. So I really started to discover this tea through the hot brewing and having a melony, a very fruity flavor profile. But now I want to see how this profile is also in cold brew. So we start with the hot brew and then go over to the cold brew. So it is a very, very fruity flavor profile, which I really have this kind of pear. I have the water, not the watermelon, but honey melon flavor profile of the tea. There's a nice, smooth, round umami note, so got a little bit this savory note. This is certainly pushed. Today I used a little bit of hotter water. I think if you even go down, you kind of have a more on the fruity side umami note, so not such a strong savoriness in the tea. The more, I guess, you go up with the temperature, you have a little bit more of the savory flavor profile. But you also, what you have with this tea is definitely, now I focused a little bit more on the greener aspect, on the kind of a little bit more vegetal aspect of the tea, and you definitely have a slight grassy note. You have a strong fruitiness in the beginning, a very strong sweetness, but then in the middle there's definitely somehow of a vegetal, a little bit more of a spinachy note coming out, before it then turns again a little bit into this sweet corn, a little bit savory note of the taste profile. But now I want to go directly into the cold brew and really see how the cold brew is in comparison to the hot brew. First sip of the cold brew. Wow, okay. So here I got much more this honey melon, nearly a little bit of a watermelon taste profile, so we got a much stronger fruitiness. And if I go back now to the hot brew, I also got the little bit of the melony note, but much more in the pear note. And I have directly more of the savoriness in the tea. So the hotter water seems to kind of bring out much more the savory tones, and the sweet tones are kind of more dimmed down, so they're in a good mix or in a good balance with the savoriness and the sweetness of the tea. So quite a broad taste spectrum, coming from a sweet, then a little bit the veggie tones in the middle. So I'll have a sip again. Also, you really have in the middle this nice veggie flavor, and then, or kind of this spinachy, kind of a little bit of a cucumber flavor, but more on the really on the green side, and then going into this savory note. While with the cold brew, it stays so strong on the fruity side without really going into this savory taste note. So it's the hot brew definitely extracts much more of this kind of savory notes, and also a little bit more of the green notes, while all of the sweetness seems to be extracted with the cold brew, and you really have this kind of florally sweet melon, honey melon, watermelon mix, and really staying on this part of the side. So in terms of complexity, definitely much more different taste profiles coming from the hot brew, and really having kind of a taste experience of this fruitiness going into the veggie and then in the savory tones of the tea. While in the beginning here you have a strong Stronger fruitiness also. That has to be said, that with the cold brew you get much more of a fruitiness and a floral note, but staying quite long in this area and not going into the savory. You also not have a strong veggie note. It really stays on kind of a, if there's any veggie note, I would rather describe it kind of as a fresh cucumber note. So not going into these savory tones. So if you're really looking for a smooth, kind of sweet and also very refreshing tea, definitely the cold brew and also the Karigane cold brew can be quite interesting for you. If you're looking for a more complex and more wide and more broad spectrum of taste profiles, definitely hot brew is the more interesting way of brewing this tea. What is impressive is also, normally with the stem tea you have a little bit of this kind of minerally and also a little bit more of a dry note. In the cold brew you don't have it at all, so this tea really doesn't show much of its cold brew kind of or minerally side of the tea. You have it slightly, but still very low with the hot brew as well. So the tea itself, very sweet, very floral, very fruity, showing more of its savory side with the hot brew and staying strongly on the sweet and refreshing fruity side with the cold brew. So definitely also an option if you ever want to do a stem tea, which is a mix of leaves and stems, and you can go into either hot brewing or cold brewing. Both teas are quite interesting. It really depends what you're looking for in the tea, and if you're more on the fruity side, go for the cold brew. Try it out, experience a little bit this really strong sweet side of the tea, and if you're looking for a broad spectrum of different kinds of taste experiences throughout the same sip, then definitely hot brew is your way to go. So this was a little comparison of the same tea, once cold brewed and once hot brewed. Thanks a lot for watching, and if you haven't, subscribe to our channel, and if you ever have a question, never hesitate to ask it. I'll be happy to answer them. Bye.